And he goes, you kept saying over and over again, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Please forgive me. And that was because of you. Nobody knew what I was even talking about because we never discussed it. I said that, and they go, yeah, you kept mentioning your daughter and you kept apologizing to her. And at that moment, I knew this stuff is real.
Hey, my name is Shelise Ansola, and this is Cults to Consciousness, where we discuss leaving high tide religions. I can feel mom staring at me, and organizations, and finding healing and independence through awareness and true individual sovereignty. If you're listening only and you would prefer to see that train wreck on video, you can go to my YouTube at Cults to Consciousness. Like and subscribe, please. Tell the algorithm that you want to see my videos. And I have a Patreon now. If you want to subscribe to that, that would be amazing. So today I have Mom here, obviously.
I was just noticing how pretty you were, and that's why I was staring. That's the only reason.
Thanks, Mom.
Honestly, I really was.
That's very
okay,
nice.
So,
That's okay.
Sorry if I messed you up.
That's okay. We're talking about psychedelics today. So we're getting a little goofy. Right out the gate, we're getting a little goofy. We are talking about how you went from being a straight edge Mormon to doing psychedelics, and all because I kind of pushed you into it, but with the best of intentions.
It was all because of you. It was all because.
So we're going to talk about your experiences with psychedelics, how you started to view them differently as a plant medicine versus drugs, how they conditioned you in the 80s.
Yeah.
And how you view them now, and how they've been able to help you and heal you in your journey.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Let's do it.
Okay. So first of all, this story starts with me, I guess. And I did a whole episode on it. I will link it here. My journey with plant medicine and psychedelics. And you can see kind of how and why I wanted to dive into ayahuasca, how I was able to go to Peru on this incredible ayahuasca retreat and heal some trauma. So when I came back, I said, Mom. Well, actually, first, let's back up.
Okay.
When I first called you and I said, hey, Mom, I think I might book this job going to Peru and doing ayahuasca and all of these other plant medicines. And I was so excited because she knew what I had gone through with uncovering abuse from my dad. All of us needed a break, really. We needed to purge this energy. We needed to heal. We needed to start moving forward with our lives. And so that was my intention with going to Peru. And also it was a job. So it was kind of like a bonus from the universe. And so I called you and I told you all of this. What was your initial response?
Wait, what? You're going to Peru? And who are you going with? And why are you going? And you're going to be doing what? Are you going to be safe? I was very nervous about that. Once you got there and you started to FaceTime me and do videos throughout, then I felt the place you were at. I felt secure then. But at first I was like, no way. No way. Again, a rule follower coming from a Mormon background of you're going to do drugs and what kind of drugs? You've never done drugs in your life. You've never drank in your life. So why all of a sudden this?
Yeah. Did you know what ayahuasca was before?
No, never heard of it. Had no idea until you.
And I'm also going to a foreign country. I think, though, you probably felt a lot more safe because it was a production company.
Yes, because I knew you were with you were being paid. They were going to make sure you're there. They're going to make sure they're covered, you're covered, everybody's good and safe because their job's on the line. So that one, if you would have just said, I'm going to Peru, I would have went, no, please don't go. Again, I can't control you because you were an adult, but I would have said, please don't go. But this way I felt okay about it.
So when I got there, I started texting you the most that I could because service
You were in the Amazon at the first.
I was in the
first
jungle,
part, you were in the Amazon.
And it took probably 20 minutes just to connect to Wi-Fi and another 5 minutes to send a message.
Yeah.
So I remember you wanting to talk and how is it going? And I'm like, this is blowing my mind. And you're like, tell me about it. I'm like, oh, we're going to have to wait till I get home because there was no way you could even get through all of it in a conversation with bad service.
Yeah.
So I come home and I have all of these stories to tell you about my healing experiences, about how I'm supposed to write a book, about how I'm supposed to share my talents and with the world and talk about things like this.
And you had your journal that
And I
you
had my
read.
journal.
You read that journal
Oh,
that
did I?
had all, yeah, we sat and you read the whole journal.
That's right.
And it's why you're doing what you're doing now. It's opened the door.
Highly recommend keeping a journal when you do psychedelic experiences so that you can go back and look at them.
Yeah.
And so I tell you all of this. And now how do you feel after hearing my experiences?
For what it did for you, and it's crazy because when you said what it did for other people that were there with you, and I won't say people or because I met some of them, but what it did for them, I was like, this is healing in a rapid, instead of years of therapy, this is just, it hits them hard and like it did you. So I was like, this is great. I'm glad you did it. I'm happy you did it. Very proud of you for doing it.
And there's got to be something else to this whole psychedelic thing other than just getting high and passing out.
Because you've always been very responsible. And I mean, I've tried to get you to try things and you're like, no, I don't want to drink. I don't want to do these things. I've tried to, to say, hey, just have a drink with me on your 21st birthday in Ireland. And we're trying. And she's like, no. And so I was, okay, I'll take yours then.
I'll take your birthday shot.
But so I knew that you're responsible enough to not do something that you felt was not good for your body. So I knew you were being cautious of that, which you were.
And so at that point, while I was at the retreat, we were sitting around the campfire and we were doing San Pedro, which is a cactus medicine. And I was just high out of my mind and everything was awesome and fun and we're laughing and we're sitting around this campfire. I remember looking up at the stars because they were trying to talk to us about integration and how to go home and, I don't know, get ourselves back into normal life and talk to regular humans. And so I'm looking at them and paying attention and then looking up above them. I'm like, oh, but the stars are so amazing. and like nudging someone, being that student that's talking during class. I'm like, look at the stars. But anyway, what they were announcing also was the fact that they were doing a little competition and they were saying, if you write a review, we will enter you into a competition to win a free retreat. And high as a kite, I was like, raise my hand. I'm going to win this for my mom. And everyone's like, okay, Shelise, like calm down, eat some food maybe. And I was like, I'm bringing my mom and my mom's got to come. So when I got home, I told you all about it. And then I said, I'm going to win that competition and I'm going to send you. And she's like, okay. Well, the day came.
Okay, wait, no, okay. No, let me just interject here. Okay. She comes home and she says, I went to Peru and it was the most amazing thing. I said, I think that's so great. And you did all this. And she goes, and you're going to go. And I go, okay. If I just say I need some time to earn some money and because we just been to Australia. And so let me take this time. And she goes, oh, no. You don't have to earn any money because I'm going to win the contest. And so I'm like, okay, you go ahead and you win that contest and then I'll go. So 2 weeks later,
I call her on the phone. So pack your bags. You're going to Peru.
And I'm like, what? When are we going? And she goes, no, you're going alone.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, no way. I cannot go alone. I have never, and this is honest truth, I have never traveled alone. She goes, that's the whole idea. You have to go alone. You cannot depend on me or anybody else. I panicked, literally. And then you're like, Mom, you can do this. You can do this. And I said, I can't speak the language. What am I supposed to do? I don't know how to do this. I will guide you and tell you the different places to stay, but you have to do this on your own. I was scared to death. So do you want me to go into all this or?
Yeah, well, I'll give my opinion on that. So I knew that she had to go by herself because when you get there, there are other people on the retreat and you end up being this close-knit family, just like I got really close to people. And you share your deepest, darkest secrets with these people and you help each other and you grow with each other. And I knew that if I were to go with her, she would depend on me to help her through certain things and use me as a crutch instead of growing on her own, which is what I did because I went by myself. There was another actor with me and we did get really close, but we still had a very individual journey. And so that's what I wanted for her. And also, since we were there, the facilitators had said the same thing. Like, yeah, people tend to come as couples or family members together, which can be great, but you get even more out of it when you're forced into yourself, when you're forced to introspect and just be in your own space, take up your own space. So that's why I said, nope, I'm not going with you. You're going by yourself. And since I had just gone, I knew all the right places in Cusco for her to stay, and I knew how it was going to work. And you need a transfer from the airport to the center, and then after that, you're completely taken care of. Don't worry, it'll be safe. And so, yeah,
it wasn't all the time very safe. It was a little scary at first. I mean, it was safe.
You were safe.
I was totally safe. I was scared, which now I look back and go, I'm glad I felt that little bit of fear because it made me, again, go, all right, Lisa, you got this. You can do this. You can do this. You can do it. And I did.
Mm-hmm. So I told her what to pack. I wrote down a few Spanish phrases.
I forgot them all.
Use.
I still couldn't remember.
And I shipped her off. So tell everyone why you thought that it would be a good idea for you to go, aside from me winning.
Okay,
because
I was going to say,
you could have turned it down though and said, tell someone else to use it.
Yeah, no, I could have. And so I'm going to kind of backtrack just a little bit because I know that she told me what to pack, but she didn't tell me what I needed to do to prepare. I mean, she told me, but so I'm going to tell you. I basically had to go without any
it was like salt,
seasonings,
pork,
meat, alcohol, sex,
coffee,
all those things for about a month before.
A month is ideal, but you can do 2 weeks.
You can. I did the month because I figured I'm a rule follower, so I figured if I'm going to go for it, I'm going to go 110%. So I did all those things and to prepare myself mentally for that. So when I got to Lima, that was the first stop before Cusco. Got to Lima, and of course, it's all in Spanish. And I'm sitting at the airport, and I'm like seeing Cusco, the sign, and I'm sitting at the gate waiting. And right when I got to the gate time, they go, okay, we're now boarding for Cusco. And I'm like, that's me. And I go up there, and I hand them my ticket, and they go, no. And they're speaking in Spanish, and I'm like, huh? And I was at the wrong gate. They had changed the gate in the middle of this. Well, if they would have spoke English, I would have understood that. Well, I didn't understand the Spanish. So I panicked and I'm running and they're finding somebody that speaks English. And I'm like, I just need help. Just get me there. They got me there, got me on a bus. Another guy jumps on the bus and he says, I think I'm lost. And we found out we were going to the same area to Cusco. And so got to Cusco and got off the plane and found, I had to get a place to go because I was staying in Cusco for 2 days before. Mm-hmm. You wanted me to go around the town, get to know the area, kind of get in the feeling of it. So I got to Cusco and I got a driver that took me to this little back alley, and he goes and he points like,
"There's your place.
There's your room." And I go, gracias. And I get out and I'm going up a cobblestone, thing with my suitcase, little suitcase, because you can't take a lot, going up and I'm looking at all these doors and I'm like, which door? And all of a sudden I just said, I don't know which door. Please help me. Which door? I look at this door. I knock on it. The guy opens the door and he goes, Lisa? And I have never been so grateful in my life. The universe provided. And I go in and then I was fine. And then, of course, I went to Rainbow Mountain by myself and met this wonderful couple. They saw me waiting. I was waiting to go on this tour and they took me with them. I had to go back to the airport to meet my group because that's where
the pickup
was. Which was great. So I get back to the airport and I'm waiting. Just please let me find somebody. And I'm looking for Arcana because that was the name of the retreat. And it was Arcana. It was in spiritual.
Center.
Yeah. And so I'm looking and I can't find anybody. And all of a sudden I see this young couple walk up and they're like, I heard him mention the word. They go, Arcana. And I went, Arcana? And I run over and I'm like, are you guys from Arcana? Are you going to Arcana? And they're like, yeah, we are. And I go, oh my gosh, I found some people. And then they go, how did you get about this? And I say, well, my daughter won this trip. And they go, you won? And I go, why? And they go, we entered so many times.
Oh, how funny.
We entered so many times and we didn't get it. And they go, and you won it. So that was great. So then we ended up going to the retreat, and I'll let you.
Yeah. So you accepted the invitation of me saying, okay, you're going. So what was it? What were your intentions that you wanted to resolve or heal or work through?
Oh, wow.
Because the reason that I think this is important
is
this just shows that, again, it's not just to go and get high and have a good time. In fact, it's a lot of work and it's difficult and it's painful. And so I think it's important for our listeners to understand the real intent behind it and how serious and sacred it can be when you give it the proper respect and do it in the right situations with the experienced shamans or curanderos who can guide your experience, your healing experience.
Right. Well, and I knew that you've never done anything unless there was some spirituality behind it. You've never just done something just for the fun of it. I mean, I did mushrooms years and years ago, one time, and laughed. And that was for the high of it. But I didn't get anything out of it other than laughter. So when you had said you were doing this in a spiritual level and you did gain so much, I felt like I had to go because I had to forgive myself for not knowing the trauma that you went through. And I didn't know how to do that other than this way. I mean, yeah, you would say you need to forgive yourself, Mom. Well, that's easier said than done. And so by going through this experience, which we'll talk about, which really just blew my mind of how I was able to finally go and let go of that feeling of, I felt guilt. Thinking.
So no matter how terrified you were determined to go and have this healing experience. Mm-hmm. You were open to having the healing experiences, which is important too. And you were ready. So you get there. What did you think of the place when you first walked in? Describe it to our
Unbelievable.
Our viewers.
Arcana in Spirit Valley. Was it called
Sacred
Valley? You walk in, there's these beautiful people playing this music and the goats and that you're holding them and they're letting you and you feel this rhythm and you know no one. I knew no one. There were two people that came in together, two friends. And I found, and this is why I feel it's important to go alone because they used each other as a crutch almost. And they were wonderful ladies, but I felt they had each other. I had no one. They said, you want your own private room or do you want to share a room? And I thought, I don't want to be alone. So I'm going to share a room with someone I don't know.
Very adventurous of you.
Don't know. And that's not like me. But I went into this room and I met someone and I really respect her to this day. I mean, it's amazing the friendships that you hold on to after that many years. You still connect, still.
Yeah.
So going there, you're just welcomed with such open arms and you're just like, okay, you surrender. You have to totally surrender and just say, I'm here. What do I need to learn? Mm-hmm. What do I need to go through? And then I met with the shaman. I don't know if you want me to go into that or individually, you're all sitting outside this beautiful, amazing tent. And then the shamans, there were two of them and they called you in and they spoke just Spanish. So they would have an interpreter.
Or their native language.
What was their native language? I just say Spanish because
I think.
Yeah.
I hope it's a language that's native to the Amazon jungle,
and
where the medicine originated.
And they knew of you because when I got because you were just there. So when I got in there, I just said I'm here because my daughter was here, and I said her name, and then of course Shelise is such a unique name, and they go, oh, and then they remembered. The one shaman said to me, close the curtain. We need to talk. And because the other ones that went in before me, the curtain was open. They shut the thing and they laid me down and he did some stuff over my body. Never touched me, just energy work. And he said, we're going to prepare you for tonight because tonight you're going to need this. It's not going to be good.
Enjoyable.
He said, you're going to feel pain. And so I'm thinking, okay, I've dealt with pain. We can deal with pain. We're okay. I mean, how do you know pain level?
Yeah.
You don't. And I just thought, okay. And he goes, but we're going to give you something to help you. And I don't know what it is. I don't know all the medicine names, but they gave me something beforehand. And I don't know how much your listeners know about all the steps that you take and how you go up and kneel in front of the shamans. And
you can talk about it.
Oh, okay. Well, so when we all got into the hut, kind of like we were all in little cots laying, and I was against the wall, and then I had two young men that were in their 30s and who I became so close to. They were, and I won't say names, but they were like my sons and I was their mom. And everywhere we went together. Mm-hmm. We just went together. And I remember them saying, we can do this. We got this. And we'd actually hold hands with each other and just say, okay. And then once you started, you don't want to touch each other at all because you don't want that energy to blend. And so you go up in front of the shaman and kneel, and then they gave me something that I drank that only 2 of us had out of the 12 of us. And so then I went and sat back down, and I didn't know what I drank, but I drank it and was nervous about it. And then we each one at a time went up in front of the shaman to drink the ayahuasca. And then you just go, and the lights are down and it's all candle, and you just wait.
Okay, so I want to talk about how you were feeling up until this moment. So you had expectations because of what I had told you and probably what you researched. And now you are here, you are ready, you've made friends, you are sitting there waiting for the medicine to kick in. What was going through your mind at that point as someone who previously has had programmed in their head, drugs are bad and drugs will kill you, and then you're in Peru and you don't know what you're doing? What was going on in your head?
I want to go home. I want to go home. I'm scared to death. Take me home. But I kept thinking, well, I can't go home. So I'm here. So just try to be open. That was my problem. I could not let go of the control. Being a Mormon or just a person that feels like everything has rules, consequences. You follow, you do this, and that. She, on the other hand, is just able to go, bring it. Just open up and whatever. And therefore, your experiences were so different than mine. My experience, because I wasn't able to just let go. And I wanted to, believe me, I really wanted to. And I laid there and I thought, okay, just listen to the music. And the music was amazing, what the shamans sing and the playing. Oh, it's just gorgeous. But I laid there and instantly, well, not instantly, after about a half hour, you start hearing people purging.
Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, here
throwing
it comes.
Up. And I went, that sounds like, and I won't say the name, but I'm like, oh, yes, good for you. And I was happy for them because we were told that was going to happen. So I didn't know that as much the first night as the second night. I was really happy when I would hear all that happening. But the first night, all of a sudden, the pain hit me. Every little joint that I've ever had an experience with arthritis or anything was amplified, and I felt nothing but pain for several hours. And I laid there going, let this stop. Let it stop. Please let it stop. Please let it stop. I want it to stop. Again, I'm trying to control it. Mm-hmm. Had I have just said, all right, I'm going to feel it, go with it, let's do it. But that was painful. I did not want to do it again the next night.
I remember that because I was texting you. I'm like, how did it go? How was your first ceremony? And if you've watched my previous episode, I didn't experience anything the first night. And so I didn't know what it would be like for her. And I just remember you text me back saying it hurt a lot and we'll see what tonight brings. And I was just like, but for people who don't know, it's actually really common for your first couple ceremonies to be very painful because it's purgative. It first has to cleanse your body of blocked energy or maybe sickness or even just blocked emotions that are stored in your cells. And it purges that out, which is why it's a purgative medicine. through pain, shaking, crying, sweating, throwing up, going to the bathroom. There's all these ways that you have to kind of get rid of this stuff out of your field first before you can really connect in with the medicine, which is why they always say at these retreats, we do a minimum of 3, because sometimes the first 2, nothing happens. And then the third one, you're like, oh, and you have these moments. So yes, highly recommend if you are to try it, don't just do it once, because you may have a bad experience and it may just be the purge happening. And that's another reason why you need to follow the dieta really closely, which is avoiding certain foods, because if you follow that more closely for a longer period of time, the likelihood of you purging is going to be a lot less, because your body is a clearer vessel for the medicine to work.
Yeah. Well, and the next day when we all got together, because you have a discussion, you don't have to share.
It's the integration circle.
But if you choose to, and they got to me and, well, no, they said, who wants to go first? I always want to go first because I get nervous and I don't want to let it build up.
Fast and testimony meeting.
Yeah, you want to be first. If you're going to bear your testimony, you go first, because
you have that,
then you can sit.
Thumping in your chest.
So they go, anybody want to go first? Me. And they're like, okay, Lisa. And the next, Lisa, it became me. And so I told him, I said, I was in so much pain. And the shaman, they translate, and he's like, kind of like, yeah, I know, I told you. And I knew that. And he goes, tonight, you will not. Or I don't know if we skipped the day. I think we skipped a day and then the next. And he said, you will not. And I was like, really? Okay. All right. Okay. So, okay, I could do this. And so then, of course, you're doing other different things and whatnot until it goes back to you doing the ayahuasca again.
I also think it's important to mention how you had to get off some medications or lower your doses.
Wow, yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who are unable to do ceremony because of certain medications, and you have to talk with your doctor to make sure you can get off certain medications before you go, which could also, I think, is a reason why you were probably having a hard time. Your body was purging some of that. And so I think it's important to get that perspective. And they even, with Arcana specifically, you have a call with a nurse.
No, the doctor from Arcana. I mean,
calls you and is like, we want to talk about your medical history and make sure that it's safe for you to come. Just so everyone knows, it's not something as easy as doing cannabis, where I don't know exactly what the rules, but I think most people can do cannabis. With ayahuasca, it is a very deep, penetrative medicine that you have to be really careful with.
Well, and I talked to my doctor, and then I talked to Arcana's doctor. And I had been on gabapentin for 30 years because of being diagnosed with lupus, and which was Lyme's disease, but borderline lupus. But I'd been on it for 30 years, and they said, you have to go off of this medication. And I'm like, you can't just go off of gabapentin. You have to wean yourself off. So through that month, I would wean myself off of that.
And what happens when you don't take it?
If you just go off of it, your body can't handle it because it's a neurological. It's telling your body you're not feeling the pain that you're feeling. So you go off of it. I mean, it can be deadly. You don't want to do that. So they said, let's wean you off of it. And by going that route and then talking to the doctors, I said, I can do this. I want off anyway. I was on it 30 years. I don't want to be on it anymore. So I was able to do that. The restless leg stuff, I was not able to get off of, but I was on such a low dose that the doctor from Arcana and my doctor both said, oh, you're fine. That's not even, you're good. So I went off of everything other than, I was only on the 2, but went off the gabapentin, and to this day, I've never taken it again.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Never taken it again since
exciting.
I got back. So that was a really good thing for me. So you go off of that, and then you go in with, you're ready. So
then how was your second ceremony? Did you have life-changing experiences?
The second ceremony was interesting. Again, I'm scared to death now.
You're still scared? Oh, well, because you had a bad experience.
So I kept thinking, he says I'm not going to be in pain, but am I? And so I started into it. And again, all of a sudden I start hearing everybody purging. And I was so happy that they were purging. You would hear people cry, you'd hear people laugh, you would hear people, everything. And there's no feeling there's no judgment. There's no like, oh, what are they crying about? Or what are they laughing about? Or what are they, you're just like, oh, this is great. Because everybody's feeling what they need to. And if you needed help, the guides are right there. If all I had to do was raise my hand and say, I need help to get to the restroom or help with purging or whatever. But that second night, all I wanted to experience for me was love. I wanted to feel love around the room. That's all I wanted. Now, those Lisa Frank Meyer, you guys probably know those, the folders, the school folders that have all the colors, and you take a whole bunch of markers together or pencils, and then you write the word love. This beautiful love. I said, I just want to experience love. Well, when it hit me, I looked up and I could see in those multicolors the word love going across the room, and that when it got to the end of the E, it was touching everyone in the room.
Aww.
And I'm like,
just got chills.
I feel their love. They felt my love. I could feel it. It was so beautiful. And so to me, that was great. And then when I thought, I got to purge. And I'm like,
you hate throwing up.
I hate throwing up. And there's this little bowl in between my partner that's right here, the young gentleman right here. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be throwing up, and he's right there. He's going to hear me throwing up. But he told me later he heard me and was just as happy.
Yeah.
I'm throwing up, and kryptonite, Superman's kryptonite. It looks like selenite, the crystal. I'm throwing this up, and I'm looking at it, and there's candlelight. So you can't see anything but candlelight. But yet in my bowl is the most beautiful colors, shards of beautiful colors.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, this is gorgeous. And I was loving what I was purging.
That was like my experience when I looked down and I saw a galaxy, and I'm like, there's a galaxy in my purge bucket.
But I felt connected to it. And then after it was over, they turned on the lights, and I wanted to see now. So I looked down, and I'm like so excited to see these colors. And I went, oh my, that's not the colors.
That's not what I saw.
But during my journey, it was. And so for me, it was a beautiful experience. The gentleman next to me, that was my friend, when I said I could see love, he said when the shamans were singing, he knows how to read music. He saw the same music notes of what they were singing going across.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That was so cool. And of course, everyone's experience there was so different and unique in every way for them.
Mm-hmm.
For my generation of somebody that would never, ever dare do this or feel I should do this, had you not have said you're going alone, I would never have done it. And I'm so glad I did. It opened up doors. Now, so I guess you'll probably talk to me more about my feelings about ayahuasca.
Yeah. Well, what about your third ceremony? Was there anything?
Third ceremony, I was trying to figure out I wanted to know who I should be with.
Because you had just gone through a divorce.
And I, of course, saw two gentlemen. And yeah, I knew I should have picked one gentleman, but in the ceremony, I saw this other gentleman, and it kept saying, you should not pick that gentleman. You should pick this gentleman. This one will be kinder and sweeter and softer. This one is you're attracted to, but it's more hardcore, more rough, more a nice man, but.
You mean like a lot of chemistry and sexual attraction, but not the right match for you?
And so, yes. So when I went home, I knew one of the men. And no, I had met the man when I got home and saw the soft one, the kind one. But then I met the other one, and I chose the other one.
Is this the one you were married to?
Let's not go there.
So you didn't follow Mother Ayahuasca?
I didn't follow Mother Ayahuasca.
Guidance.
And she was there to guide me.
Wow.
One thing that was really interesting about Mother Ayahuasca is when they say that you carry it on down the road, like even a year later, you can experience things. Well, when I got up after the third ceremony, and I just didn't feel in the mood to talk to anyone. And a lot of people shared, but I just said, I love y'all. Good night. I'm going to bed. I went back down to the hut, and my roommate at the time stayed up and talked. So it gave me that alone time, and I got into bed. And of course, I purged every direction I
Really?
purged out again, and which the other was, I was worried I was going to do that in front of everyone. And you know, the funny thing is you don't care when people do. I mean, this is crazy that we're talking about this, but you're literally, it's coming from both ends at times.
I think I remember you saying to me in a very serious way, Shelise, do I need to wear diapers? And I said, I don't think so, but I would advise against wearing white pants just in case. And she's like, wait, do I need to wear diapers?
I was scared to death because I didn't want to do that. But when I got, and I didn't, but there was some, but there's the restroom right there. So they were fine. And nobody cared. Then we go to dinner or breakfast the next morning. We're like, both ends, or was it just, I mean, we're talking about this, and there was no feeling of, I can't believe you're talking about this. There was none of that. You were like, really? Oh yeah, well, I experienced this or I experienced that. So when I got back to my room, it was both ends. But I needed that. And then I got into bed, and all of a sudden the shamans were singing to me. They were gone to bed, but they were singing to me. I could hear them.
Wow.
And I laid there and just listened to this beautiful music.
The Icaros.
Is that, what they call that. It was unbelievable. So it's so different for so many people. So for what you, and you've done it more than I have. And I keep thinking, would I do it again? Would I do it again? And when I first came back, I said, I just don't know if it's for me. I'm not able to let go of that control, I think, for me. But now it's been a couple years later now, 3-4 years later, I start going, maybe I'm more ready for it now than I was at the time. I mean, I was ready for it then. So I'm rambling. I know I'm going. There's so much that happens there.
I find it really interesting that Mother Ayahuasca was right.
She was right.
And the one you picked, the relationship just ended not that long ago.
It just ended. And nothing against him. It just, I didn't listen.
It wasn't right.
And I didn't listen. And I should have. But
that's okay. And that's
okay. Because I learned
the
a lot
point
from
is
that.
agency.
Yeah.
You can be shown something, but at the end of the day, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Just like with my patriarchal blessing in our previous episode, click here, where they give you the guidelines and you can choose to follow it or not. But wow, that's so interesting. I want to talk about your experience with Sapo, or they call it bufo, which is the toad medicine.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
The toad medicine, the God molecule, the 5-MeO-DMT that drops you out for 15 minutes.
Oh, is that the one that that goes up your nose?
No, that's Nunu. And
Nunu is the one I think.
Rape.
Oh, I'm so bad.
So there's Rape and Nunu. Rape is, or sometimes they call it hape. Hape is where they grind up different plants and the ashes of different plants, and they blow that up your nose.
And that's
mostly
the one that makes you pass out.
No, so usually there's tobacco in there.
Okay.
And Nunu is when you grind up the plants, and they aren't the ashes of the plants, but they're the living version of the plants, and you blow that up your nose. And it goes hand in hand with ayahuasca, and that was my first experience with a psychedelic where. In my previous episode, I talked about, is this what it feels like to be drunk? Because that was my first experience. Now, Sapo / bufo is the toad medicine. It comes from a very specific toad that lives in the Amazon and I think other parts of South America, where the poison is excreted off of its back. The toad isn't harmed in the gathering of the medicine, and it's a very ceremonial thing that they do. And they turn these into, I think it's like a crystalline substance, and then they boil it in a flask, and then you smoke it. And that's 5-MeO-DMT, the one that completely knocks you out. People have wild experiences. That's the one that you had the most. That
I passed out. I just remember we started at the beginning of the room, and I was probably the 6th one in, and there was 12 of us. And so they started experiencing things. And for a half hour, you're there for that person as nothing but support. The one gentleman thrashing around the room, like violently, and they were calming him, but he was screaming and yelling. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And then the next woman slept the whole time. And I'm like, okay, I could do that. I could do that. I like that. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And so they get to the one friend of mine that was two of my friend. And then, and again, I won't say names, but he said, Lisa, would you scribe for me what I do? Because you don't remember. So I did. I scribed for him what he did. And it was amazing for him of what his experience was. And then I scribed for my other friend for him. Well, when it got to my turn, I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to try this. I think I'm going to do this. I don't know what and I just said, and I didn't ask them to scribe for me, but they did. And I just remember doing it, and I was passed out. And then a half hour later, I'm waking up, and this is no lie. All these people were hugging me. We're doing this massive group hug. And I go, hi. And I look around and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, you wanted a group hug. So gave you a group hug.
That checks out.
And so that would be so me, huh? And so they all kind of got up and they were happy for me. And I go, and then the one friend goes, I scribed for you. And I said, what did I do? Did I make a fool of myself? What did I do? Please tell me.
Was I a chicken?
What? And he goes, you kept saying over and over again, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Please forgive me. And that was because of you. And nobody knew what I was even talking about because we never discussed it. And so I said that, and they go, yeah, you kept mentioning your daughter and you kept apologizing to her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because at that moment, I knew this stuff is real because I didn't speak it, but my subconscious knew how I felt and my heart knew. And so for me to express something without even knowing what I was expressing, and they kept saying that you just kept saying, they kept saying, you're okay. And then you go, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay. I can forgive myself. I can forgive myself. And that's when the facilitators would rub your back or talk to you. And the one gentleman that was my friend drew a picture. He was very artistic, and he did a lot of his journeys and would do pictures. He drew an eagle with 3 eggs. He goes, I don't know why I did this, but this is just what I saw in you. And I go, the eagle is my Spirit of Ottertail logo.
Yeah.
And I have 3 children. And so he goes, that had to have been why. That was more powerful to me than ayahuasca because it did it subconsciously. It took what was in my mind, but not in my current, in my state of, okay, I know I should feel guilty, or I know that it truly was how I felt. And that helped me release that more than anything. So yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Mom.
Yeah. That was amazing.
It took something to knock out your ego completely.
Exactly. To shut me up because I wanted to control.
To shut you down and just take you for a ride, which is why I wanted you to try mushrooms. Because I thought, okay, mushrooms, they can be a more playful medicine. They can get really serious and it can be hard work, but not nearly as much as ayahuasca, at least on lower doses. Mm-hmm. So then I ended up coming home and trying mushrooms for the first time after ayahuasca because I was more open to the experience. And I had another incredible experience, which I can talk about later on the podcast. But it took you a while. We did mushrooms together in Sedona.
But I control again.
She didn't take enough, and she was trying to control the situation. She was worried about a third party that was there. So didn't really go deep. And recently, you had a great experience with the right dose of mushrooms. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have anything else to say about the retreat in Peru, we can venture over into that.
No, I'm ready to.
Okay. So what was your experience like? What was the setting like?
It was a controlled environment. It was at a husband and wife's home who have done it multiple times. They bring people in. You have places to rest, lay down, food to eat, water, candlelight. I knew that someone was going to watch me because when we did it in Sedona, I felt like I had to watch you. Mm. So I didn't want to go and let go. So again, it's my control. And so here I thought, okay, I'm going to totally let go because they're going to watch me. And they did. I didn't move the whole time again. I laid in one place. But the experience was really amazing. It made me see things and open up my heart to things, which was interesting because one thing that I'm still kind of dealing with, because when it ends, you still have things that come to you that you go, oh, wow, I remember that. Oh, it can be weeks later and you'll remember something that happened in that session. So I was like laying there, and all of a sudden I went into seeing all these warriors that were completely clothed like the jousting warriors. And so all you'd see is their eyes like this. But yeah, I could look at every warrior and know exactly who they were. I knew who each person was. So I don't want to go too deep into this because it brings in some characters that I was in, that was part of my, I guess, journey. But one kept trying to get to the front, like, I'm going to get to the front. And that's so typical. Uh-huh. But I kept seeing all the others and they're like, okay, let them in, let this happen. But the most unique part was I couldn't understand why I'm seeing all these warriors. Why are they in my life? And then when we were coming out of it and in discussion, the person that was next to me said, I looked over, because when I said, there was all these warriors, and she goes, what did you just say? And I said, yeah, warriors. And she goes, when I looked over at you, wondering if you were alive or dead, because I was so still, she goes, you were dressed as a woman warrior.
That's so crazy.
And they said it was because we were sharing that
shared
same,
visuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that was amazing.
What do you think the warriors mean to you? If you were to interpret it right now in your perspective, what's the first thing that jumps out at you?
The first thing that came to my mind was all of these people, because these were people that were in my life.
Loved ones, family.
Husbands, everybody, past husbands were all there, which made me feel we were all connected in this life, and we had been in many lives past, but they were all there. And that's the feeling I got. Now, whether that's right or not, that's just what I felt. And they had said that you were going back, you were seeing a previous life when you were all there together. And now we're in this life, which is total. I'm not dressed as a warrior. But that's how everybody was. So
when you first explained it to me, my first thought was, your family and friends will go to war for you to protect you because you're going through a really hard time in your life and transitioning and new beginnings and all of that. So that was my first opinion was, you got an army behind you, so you can move forward with strength and power and confidence that everything's going to be okay.
No, and I felt a lot of love from everybody there. There was the one individual that just kept trying to come to the forefront, which needed to be pushed back a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's because it's so recent. But the others were all there. And you're right. Everybody, I felt like we are all together on this. We're all linked.
Were there any other shared visual, or not shared visuals, but visuals or thoughts that came up that were particularly healing in that journey?
Things came up about you again. But that didn't come up till 2 days later. I'm sitting at dinner with one of the people that did it with me, and they said something, just some word. And I went, and instantly I remembered thinking about the situation with you. And I went, whoa. And so talking to a psychologist after this, I said, 2 days later, how did I not remember it right then? And he said, you will get things up to a year later. Things will come to you. And that's why it's so good to process it. Each time you see those things, that you speak about it and talk about it and get it out.
Find a support group or reconnect with people who were there with you in the same circle. Mm-hmm. That's why integration is so important. Yeah. Or find a psychologist or a therapist that you can talk about your experiences with. Making sure that you really have a support team to help you through things that may have come up, some traumas or visuals that you don't understand that you want to release and work through. I think it's really important to make sure that you have that team in place.
Definitely. Yeah.
Do you think you'll do mushrooms again?
I think so. I was nervous because I was afraid it was the same as ayahuasca and I didn't want to get sick. I did actually feel like I was going to get sick on the mushrooms, which the facilitator said, you're bringing back, it could be still bringing ayahuasca into it. You're still feeling things from ayahuasca, because I didn't move, stayed there the whole night, I was not going to move. And that's what I did with ayahuasca. I didn't move all night.
So you've experienced psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca, Sapo, the tobacco up your nose. You've experienced San Pedro.
San Pedro was the fun
the
one.
cactus fun medicine.
Where you just saw beauty in nature. One of the gentlemen goes, just look at that tree.
Just look at it.
It's just, do you see it moving? And I go, yeah, I can see it. And he goes, it's a person. Do you just see the, and I was looking at like, no, not seeing it. And he goes, she doesn't get it yet. And then we walked up and saw the swirl, the eddy in the river. And I go, look at that eddy. Just watch it and look at the water. And he goes, she's got it now. She's on it. She's connecting. But it was beautiful. So it was.
That's the thing about plant medicine is it comes from plants or beings like the toad, where you really connect yourself with nature, with Mother Earth, with all of the elements. You find out that you really are a part of Earth, which makes all of us connected and part of each other. And you tend to see people in different lights and different perspectives. Like you said, when you realize everyone's connected with love.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a common thing while you're in the medicine to look around at people and just go, oh, I just love them. When you realize that you're all part of each other and that hating someone is almost like hating yourself.
Exactly. They say that when you're connected, what you put out there is really kind of what you're seeing in yourself. If you're judging someone, you're kind of judging yourself too.
It might be a part of you that you need to work through, which is, it's very confronting.
It's hard because you have to go.
To that.
Yeah.
So after all of these medicines, now you can distinguish between them, how some are good for some things, some are good for other things. Do you think that there is value in plant medicine and exploring potentially more plant medicines in your journey specifically?
Yeah, definitely. I don't judge anything anymore, because what's good for one person might not be good for me, but it might be good for them and somebody else, and something else might be good for me. So I kind of am more open to it. My generation, coming from the generation of you just kind of don't do those things, or you follow the rules. And I say, I don't want to say the word, but the rules, just
say the word.
No. Again, I'm going to follow my rule, but just go with it and experience it and try it. Your generation is more open to what's out there, and you're wanting to learn more. I'm from a generation, you just open an encyclopedia and there's the information. You only get what's in that book, where you guys are just like explosive. And so I've learned more from your generation of what I wished I would have known. So anyone from my generation, man, if you have the chance to do it, do it.
If you can just drop the judgment, like you said.
And control.
Expand your thought process. Get rid of that filter. Get rid of the labels. Stop labeling people who enjoy cannabis as potheads.
Yeah.
Because you can do cannabis. I mean, we've just discovered the medical benefits.
So many different strains there are that help with
strains.
So many things.
I mean, I took cannabis exclusively for post-surgery, major surgery, without taking any painkillers. And it's a beautiful thing. And it makes me crazy that it's illegal in places, because it can help so many people, and it's natural, and it's anyway, I could go on for days, but to close out, let's get a little Linda Listen, which could be along the same line of what we were just talking about, a little spicy statement. What do you think?
Oh gosh, Linda Listen. Explore, be open, try something new. And if it doesn't work for you, don't do it again. But if it does, just put it out there. Be open to it.
Be open to new possibilities. Do your research. Find what works for you. Find what may not work for you. Talk to your doctor. Want to make sure that you're healthy enough to do certain substances. And just go for it. And my Linda Listen is for all those out there who have a lot of judgment towards people like ourselves who dabble in these beautiful medicines. Drop the judgment. That's my Linda Listen. Drop the judgment. Listen, honey.
Listen, honey.
You don't know what you don't know. And if you are judging us, that's because you don't know the beauty of it yet. And that's okay. There's time to learn.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us, Mom. Any last words on psychedelics?
No, be open to it.
Be open to it.
Be open to it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So if you have made it this far, we really appreciate you. Thanks for coming along this journey. If you liked this video, you will definitely like the other 2 videos that I have with my mom, which I will link at the end here, on if she has regrets leaving the Mormon church and how I got my mom to leave Mormonism. Also, if you like to support my mom, she has an incredible business, Spirit of Ottertail, which is named after our Native American ancestors, Sarah Mary Ottertail.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Sarah
And
Ottertail.
if you check out behind us, this is one of her beautiful creations. She made this. She always puts healing crystals on them and spends a lot of time and love into each piece, which is individually named. If you want something from her, you can reach out to her on Instagram at Spirit of Ottertail. If you want to join our Patreon, would love to do that. Link below. And until next time, follow your highest excitement, be conscious, and be well. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, it would mean a lot if you could like and subscribe on YouTube and leave a review or a comment to help with our visibility. You can also find me on social media at cults2consciousness or reach out by email at cults2consciousness@gmail.com.